The scary thing happened to me in 2010 in a place called Lower Mainland Fraser Valley in British Columbia, Canada. It was October, I think. I was 16 at the time, and now I'm 26. My friend lived in a part of the city with a lot of forest and farmland. His backyard had 5 acres of forest and some houses nearby. We used to explore the forest all the time because it was cool. One night around 1 a.m., my friend and I went into the forest with his dog. We were planning to smoke, but we never got to that. We were completely sober when we saw this strange being. Near the entrance of the forest, there's a steep cliff made of the forest floor. It was about 20 to 25 feet into the forest. We saw a 7 to 8 foot tall white figure swaying between the trees. It didn't make any noise, and there was no wind. We were both scared, but mesmerized by its movements. This strange, ominous feeling of death and danger overwhelmed me, so we decided to get the hell out of there. This strange figure that we saw was a tall, white, ghostly-looking thing with long, spindly arms, and it was just standing there amongst the trees, swaying back and forth silently. It looked like a ghost, but it was solid. It was 3-dimensional. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The forest was pitch black, and although this thing didn't give off any light, it cast some sort of a shadow. It was like a surreal scene from a horror movie. I know there are no animals in that area of BC that could stand 7 to 8 feet tall on 2 legs. But it was weird, like there wasn't really a body. It was almost like the limbs themselves were this thing's body. This was no ordinary animal, and there's definitely no doubt about what we saw. I've exhausted all of the possibilities of what this might have been, but I can definitely tell you this was our first and last nighttime visit into that forest. The 5-acre forest is the largest woodland area around. The rest of the surrounding area are covered with million-dollar homes, farms, smaller forest, and the city's greenbelt. And once you get into the forest in the area we were, you're definitely isolated. The memory of that night and seeing whatever that entity was still sends chills down my spine. But I find it all a bit uncanny. The fact that we were in the forest that deep, so late at night, it was almost as if this thing meant to be seen by us. Had we gone any earlier or any later, we might have missed it. My friend and I spotted it at the exact same time without needing to signal each other. And not to mention that overwhelming sense of dread and that warning to stay away that we both felt that caused us to leave so immediately. This was my sole paranormal experience. Apart from that incident, I've never encountered anything paranormal while visiting my friend's forest property. However, in retrospect, there seems to be something exceptional about that place. While many people are frightened by such phenomena and refuse to believe their existence, one must witness it firsthand to comprehend the eerie moments and fear that it evokes. I can tell you that seeing such an entity up close is a profound experience, one that you can only truly understand when you see it for yourself. We had been to the area so many times where we saw this entity, and nothing unusual had ever happened. But the day following the encounter, we went back to the exact same spot, and we found nothing out of the ordinary. We both agreed that what we had seen was very unique and something that should be left alone. These beings are known as societal among indigenous cultures, a term I've learned and used since my encounter. The memory of that night in the forest remains vivid, and I found no online accounts or Reddit posts of similar encounters. A year after the sighting, I found a Facebook message conversation with my friend where I expressed my lingering thoughts about the creature and what we saw in the forest and that sense of impending doom it evoked. My friend agreed that he had never felt such fear and was hesitant to share the experience. We even considered that it might have been a bear or a Sasquatch, but we eventually dismissed that idea. Since my encounter, I've become familiar with the Nightcrawler videos, which I had no idea about at the time. The movements of the creature we saw were far more haunting and psychedelic than those in the videos, and its ghostly appearance was more visually striking. Also, unlike the creatures in the video, the one we saw stayed in the same place the whole time, and it didn't look exactly the same. I recently shared our experience in my sketch of the entity with a First Nations individual on Instagram, who recognized it immediately. He told me its name in their language and showed me their culture's high status symbol, a double-headed serpent with an additional horned serpent on its head and back. He advised me to invert the symbol as it represents the beings and suggested a specific burial offering. He also shared other names for these night crawlers used by different First Nations cultures in BC, Canada. Another First Nations individual warned me not to eat or drink anything if I go outside at night, to ask before entering the forest, and to maintain a safe distance from them. After showing a Tlingit artist my sketch and sharing my experience, they identified it as a shapeshifter. They explained that making eye contact with them could turn one into salt, and that it was a powerful being originating from the Central Coast River, where it was birthed by a fisherman who discovered its vibrant rainbow-colored flesh. The artist also advised me to ask the entity what it wants if I encounter it again, to trust my instincts, and to leave immediately if I sense malicious intent. They also suggested that I bring someone else along, as these entities can be deceptive. Unfortunately, my knowledge of Native American lore is limited. However, an individual named Red Wolf once explained to me that, when you see a tree stripped of its bark, you glimpse the life it lived, its scars, its healing. All things on earth are alive in their own way. Some energies are as ancient as time itself and can merge with other living things, as humans once could. Red Wolf went on to say that not only humans experience emotions and desires, all living things do. Some choose a darker path, thriving on emotions and thereby gaining power. There are energies capable of morphing into our worst fear, feeding off the fear they provoke. Some of these beings are as old as time, originating from different realms within ours from other cosmic regions. They aim to deceive or trick you, often appearing as enticing females or luring you deep into the forest or caves using flickering lights. They exploit your inner darkness to empower themselves. This puzzled me because sometimes I find solace and strength and clarity in what I see, rather than fear. But then I recalled a previous lesson about the duality of life. Every energy has its opposite. So for every terrifying nightmare stalking the weak, there's a benevolent counterpart that heals, helps, and thrives on positive input. Whether it's dark or light, hot or cold, the choice ultimately lies within us. Humans, energy orbs, ancient deities, or dimensional travelers. Our desires and projections attract equivalent energies. Fear breeds fear, trapping you, while jealousy and hate act as toxins. The boys who encountered the shape-shifting nightcrawler didn't ask for that experience. The incident will undoubtedly haunt them for the rest of their lives. They can't alter the past or change even the briefest moment of the event. Their only choice now is how they deal with it moving forward. Each witness of a terrifying event copes in their own way. What's crucial is deciding to move on. We will always encounter inexplicable things that cause fear and doubt, but they don't have to define us. If we survive a horrific moment, we can endure and accomplish anything. The witness oscillates between recalling a terrifying event that felt akin to death and referring to them as angels. The fundamental question is, which side do you lean on? Was the entity there to feed off of them, leading them towards their demise? Or was it imparting knowledge, hinting at dormant abilities waiting to be harnessed? I know many of you are tormented by these shape-shifting energy takers, leaving you confused about which ones are good and which ones are not. It's essential to regain control and establish boundaries like a warrior. Surround yourself with positive thoughts, intentions, and renewed sense of self. Always trust your instincts.